Welcome to Detailed Damage Assessment Observations. The purpose of this course is to prepare you to accurately conduct observations in Survey 123. Upon completion of this course, you will be able to relate your work to the disaster relief efforts of the Red Cross, understand requirements to conduct observations in the field, and submit an accurate and successful observation through Survey 123. Let's get started. Let's begin by understanding the importance of damage observations. In this unit, you will learn how observations relate to the larger damage assessment effort that takes place after a disaster. The disaster relief efforts of the Red Cross depends on our best understanding of post-disaster impacts. One element of that understanding involves damage assessment. Damage assessment is the process of observing, evaluating, and recording unbiased, timely, valid, and reliable data of residential structures involved in disaster events. Eligibility for disaster-based services is determined by the correct representation of impact to residential structures after a disaster. The data you collect and images you capture help us to ensure we provide equitable services to those who need support. Each disaster poses unique conditions and decision-making considerations. We may use one or more approaches on a disaster relief operation, or DRO, to capture damage data. Detailed Damage Assessment Observation, or DDA observation, is one of these methods. DDA observations require accurate identification of a residence, structure type, correct address, map location, and photographs. These observations also provide evidence that can be used by assessors to later allocate a specific damage classification to a structure. Regardless of the data collection method that is chosen for a DRO, completeness, accuracy, and timeliness are of utmost importance. As an observer for the Red Cross, you play a critical role in capturing the impacts of the disaster. You carry the trust of the public in relieving suffering in the face of emergency. You are responsible for an unbiased and fair representation of disaster impact through the data and photos collected. You are part of a larger team. Your piece of the puzzle starts a chain of events that result in disaster relief actions. The work we do to provide trusted, equitable damage assessment is a team effort. Let's review the roles and responsibilities of our broader DA team. Observers are responsible for inputting and submitting accurate damage observations into Survey 123 and conducting a 360-degree review of the external sides of each residence. They should be prepared to work in an all-hazards environment where disaster conditions may be challenging to navigate, and to utilize the technology required for consistent and equitable capture of information. Drivers are responsible for driving through disaster-affected areas, navigating impacted roads and identifying alternative routes, and communicating details about the observed disaster conditions to help inform the coordination of disaster relief efforts. Supervisors are responsible for organizing and leading team members, providing assignments and guidance, providing expertise, corrections, and trainings when needed, utilizing technology as required, working in all-hazard environment, and maintaining span of control where no one supervisor manages a team larger than can be effectively supported. Administrators handle the administrative tasks DA requires, such as logistical coordination of field teams and data monitoring. They provide coverage for the DA manager when unavailable and support the manager with planning, cross-unit collaboration, and quality assurance actions. Managers are responsible for delivering DA projections for service delivery and immediate assistance planning, planning, implementing, and completing all damage assessment activities, preparing DA reports and materials, disseminating information and reports with internal partners, and implementing quality assurance feedback to ensure data integrity and complete corrective actions. Now that you have a better understanding of your role in the larger context of the disaster relief operation, let's look at what your experience will be like in the field. In this unit, you will learn about the expectations for observers in the field, including how to navigate disaster conditions to complete observations and how to interact with members of the public. Conducting observations accurately and completely is essential to ensure that the information collected can be understood and interpreted by others within the disaster relief operation. You will be assigned to a team of 2 and a work area to target each day. Collect observations only within your assigned area to support methodical tracking of the areas that have been visited. If field conditions prevent you from making observations in your assigned area, or you are ready to expand to a new area after completing your assignment, contact your supervisor for new instructions. You will collect your observations by completing data collection surveys. Always keep safety in mind. Observations should be conducted while maintaining an awareness of the conditions of the disaster environment. All Red Crossers have a responsibility to stay aware of their surroundings and respond accordingly to unsafe conditions. Stay alert to structural hazards, debris, extreme temperature conditions, standing water, and other dangers. Use your best judgment to remove yourself from harm's way. Your supervisor will explain hazards to watch for and will be available to you for questions. Stay weather aware. Always know where your nearest safe shelter is located. Do not go onto private property if posted no trespassing or confronted by someone on the property. Do not enter dwellings to conduct assessments. Your observations are captured using the Survey 123 application on a web-enabled and location-enabled device. Using Survey 123 allows observers to capture details about the type of structure, the exact location on a map, the exact address information obtained through the app's reverse geocoding service, required photographs representing an accurate view of structural impacts or the lack of impact, and any additional details that may help to identify the structure or context of its location. Within your assigned geographic area, you must complete an observation for every residential address. Non-residential structures are not evaluated. Non-residential structures include wholly commercial or industrial buildings and temporary or portable dwellings that are not permanent residences at a fixed address. To conduct an observation, the structure must have U.S. Postal Service addressing. Contact your supervisor for addressing options if you encounter situations where U.S. Postal Service address conventions are not available. When encountering multiple residences at a single address, an individual Survey 123 observation must be submitted for every residence. These situations may include multiple apartment units in a single structure, multiple smaller structures at a single property, duplexes, basement apartments, and mobile home parks. When a unique address, unit, or lot number is not available, use indicators like A, B, and C in place of a unit or lot number to distinguish between residences. Not every unit has the same level of damage. It's important to correctly record your observations of damage for each unit since the impact may differ for each residence. Determine if you can identify the number of units, unique designators for each unit, and location of each unit within the structure. If this is possible, conduct the external observation of the structural damage for each unit. If unable to distinguish the units, consult with a property owner or landlord, if present, to help map the location of each unit. If these efforts are not successful, Make note of this location and inform your supervisor for next steps. DA workers do not conduct other service delivery work. This separation of duties is necessary to reduce the risk of unintentional fraud. We are entrusted to deliver unbiased, timely, valid, and reliable collection of information. Thus, we should not be placed in a position that would require us to engage with a client whose home we may have observed. Keeping DA workers separate from client-facing services is an important part of maintaining neutrality. Damage assessment teams are often the first Red Cross representatives that an impacted resident may encounter. Our work is often conducted at the same time that other services are being coordinated and provided by the Red Cross. The public may look to you to answer questions about Red Cross services. When conducting observations in impacted areas, vehicle signage can be helpful. If working in remote areas, consider carrying extra bottled water. These resources can be requested through your supervisor before heading out into the field. Review the following tips for handling encounters with impacted residents. If you are approached by members of the public, be polite. Identify yourself as the American Red Cross. Do not speak about items regarding building codes, damage observations, or operational details. You serve them best by completing your job quickly and accurately. If asked for assistance, refer residents to reliable information. Direct them to open shelters, feeding stations, and service delivery sites. Share the Red Cross emergency app and the 1-800 Red Cross phone number. Never give out names and phone numbers of Red Cross responders to the public. Submit observations based on the damage that you have personally observed when conducting your work. If you did not observe it, do not submit it. Never provide clients rides in Red Cross chapter or rental vehicles. Consult with your supervisor to determine if there are alternative non-Red Cross solutions available to support clients' transportation needs. Always leave the area if you feel threatened or intimidated. Now that you've learned what to expect in the field, it's time to prepare you to conduct a DDA observation. In this unit, you will learn to set up your survey and how to submit a complete and accurate observation in Survey 123. If you do not already have the Survey 123 app installed on your mobile device, please do so now. Navigate to the Apple Store or Google Play. Search for and locate ArcGIS Survey 123. Be sure to note the green icon next to the name of the app. Install ArcGIS Survey 123. A splash screen will briefly display, and then the initial sign-in screen will appear. Now it's time to sign into Survey 123. You will need to set the portal to our ArcGIS online account. Select Manage ArcGIS Connections. If you have not added the ArcGIS online portal URL before, please do so now. Select Add Connection at the bottom of the page. The Add Connection window will open. Enter the ArcGIS online URL you see on the screen. After you have entered the ArcGIS online portal URL and confirmed that it is correct, select Add. Once the ArcGIS online portal URL has been successfully added, please make sure it is the active portal with the green check mark on the left. After the ArcGIS online portal is selected, click on the back arrow at the top left of the screen. The American Red Cross National Headquarters option should now be visible on the Survey 123 home screen. Select the Sign In with American Red Cross National Headquarters button. Select the ArcGIS Login option. This option is for users that received a DRO-specific login credential. If you are using your single sign-on account instead, select the American Red Cross National Headquarters button. All single sign-on account usernames start with ARC underscore. Enter the credentials provided by your DA supervisor. If you have not added surveys previously, select Download Surveys. Only surveys available to your credentials will be visible. Select the DDA Observe survey for your operation by selecting the cloud with the down arrow. Next, select the back arrow at the top left of the screen to return to the My Survey 123 homepage. After your Operation DDA Observe survey has been downloaded, it is ready to use. Red Cross issued phones should be made available, and when not, individuals must use their own phone and data plan to download the Survey 123 app and submit observations. Once you have successfully prepared your device for a survey, keep the following in mind before heading out to the field. Rental cars or chapter vehicles will be provided to the teams. Teams will follow guidelines for no smoking in vehicles and return the vehicle to the operation at the end of the workday, cleaned and fueled. Follow supervisor instructions to access the DDAC map layer and use it as the base map for Survey 123. This will assist you in avoiding duplicate entries. Now it's time to begin collecting an observation. Open your survey and select Collect at the bottom of the screen. The date and time of your assessment will auto-populate in your survey. For the structure you are observing, select the dwelling type under Choose Dwelling Type. Proper identification of the type of housing is important, as the type you select will make a difference in how damage is classified for that structure. Let's take a look at what each dwelling type means. A single-family home is a home that is built of conventional construction materials such as wood, brick, or adobe, typically intended for a single household. A mobile home is a manufactured or prefabricated home that is used as a permanent living accommodation at a fixed location. An apartment/condo is comprised of more than one residence attached as a single structure but having separate entrances, such as apartments, condominiums, townhomes, or duplexes. This type may be selected when there are multiple residential structures that share the same address on the same property, but may be distinguished by a lot number or unit number. Next, click on Map Location to locate the map. Open the map by either tapping on the map icon or clicking on the map image. When the map opens, ensure that the blue pin is placed on the structure you are observing. If you have your phone location enabled and are standing at the correct location, the pin should appear on the correct address. If it does not, move the pin accordingly. If the pin is not on the correct location, or if you are unsure it is appearing at the right address, use the search field to find the accurate address. Select the checkbox to lock in the latitude and longitude of the address. Next, review the information in the Dwelling Information section. If the address information did not accurately autofill after pinning the location, you will need to type in the required information for the address, including the unit or lot number, state, city, zip code, and county. Let's review best practices for completing the dwelling information fields. Allow the correct address to auto-populate through the Survey 123 geocoding feature whenever possible, with manual entry as your last resort. Be sure to use U.S. Postal Service postal abbreviations without punctuation for suffixes such as street, avenue, and lane. Include the unit number for apartments and lot number for mobile homes. If you are unsure of the correct address or if the house number is gone, use a free app such as Where Am I or Google Maps on your phone to try to verify the address. After disaster has impacted community infrastructure, a geographic reference may be the best way to help identify a structure. Use this field to indicate the name of an apartment complex or mobile home community, or the specific location of an individual address in a rural area that may be difficult to find, or the cardinal direction a home may be facing. This is an optional field, but is available to help orient an assessor to the correct structure. Now it's time to walk around the structure to take 3 photos of the exterior. Ensure your photos are taken in landscape mode without glare and clearly show all sides of the home. To take the photo, select the camera icon. When you are ready, clicking on the shutter will automatically take and attach a photo. The folder icon is useful in situations where you have taken a photo using the phone's camera app and saved it to the device. The folder icon will navigate to your device's storage so that you can select the correct photo and upload it to the observation. Here are a few tips for taking effective photos that will be used to assess the structural damage of the home. Ensure your photos show a 360-degree view whenever possible. Include a full front view photo with the house number if visible, a second photo showing one side and the back of the house, and a third photo showing the opposing corner and back of the house. Photos should be close enough to include all 4 structural elements: roof, foundation, and each end of the home. Do not zoom out so far that you lose detail, or zoom in so close that you lose perspective on the photograph location of the structure. Note that debris and vegetation piles should not be included in observation photos. Debris does not indicate damage to the home itself and may not even belong to the home or parcel it sits on. A good tip for flooding events is to use blue tape to mark the exact location of the water line on a structure. This helps the assessor identify the water line in the photo. Photos often do not capture the faint water line after flooding events. Blue tape helps reduce the need for an exacting narrative of where the water line was observed. Now it's time to complete the final section of the observation. The narrative and worker information section provides space for additional information and identifying the worker who completed the survey. In the narrative field, indicate how much of the exterior of the structure you were able to observe and photograph. Enter your first and last name in the worker information field. Narratives are critical in describing any additional information or observations not already depicted in the photos and support the damage observed. Narratives should be concise yet detailed. General statements such as "house has damage" provides no additional help. For flooding damage, the narrative should explain exactly where on the home the water line was observed. For example, 18-inch water line below the windowsill on the left side of the entry is a good narrative. The narrative should include a measurement of the water line from the bottom of the front door, not the ground. Narratives should include whether a 360-degree observation was completed. If not, it should note what portion of the home was observed, such as front only, or a 270-degree observation if the front and both sides were observed. It should also provide the reason why a 360-degree observation could not be completed, such as a fenced property or a dog in the yard. Narratives can also be used to explain damage to non-essential living spaces, such as a garage or porch, that did or did not impact essential living space. Now review your survey for accuracy. Once it is submitted, you will not be able to edit the observation. When you are ready to submit, select the check mark at the bottom right corner of the survey. When the menu appears, select Send Now to submit your survey. At this point, you may see a prompt appear for any required field you may have missed. Go back and complete all required fields before proceeding. If you do not have cellular service, you can select Save in Outbox. However, do not forget to clear your outbox before you end your shift. Once the survey is successfully sent, it is viewable to a virtual team of assessors who will assess the damage classification for your observed structure. You have now learned how to complete an accurate observation. Let's review what you have learned and discuss next steps. It's time to put it all together. Review the images displayed on the screen and then use what you have learned to respond to the prompted questions. Consider the prompt using what you have learned in this session. You are conducting an observation on this flooded home. What should you do when your access is restricted by standing water? Do not enter an area with standing water. Use your best judgment to stay safe in this environment. Enter a narrative that explains why you are only able to get a 180-degree view of the structure. You are conducting an observation on this structure and have taken photo 1. What would you want to capture in photos 2 and 3? Ideally, the first photo should show a full side of the home when possible. However, the other 2 photos should strive to capture the additional 3 sides of the home. There is a fence with a no trespassing sign preventing your access to the other sides of this structure. What narrative information should you include? Indicate only 90-degree view was possible due to no trespassing sign. Consider this submitted photo. Is this an acceptable damage photo to submit? Why or why not? This photo does not provide sufficient perspective to identify the location and scale of the damage and does not capture one or more complete sides of the home. What about this photo? Is this an acceptable damage photo to submit? Why or why not? This photo is not acceptable. The image has glare and is excessively blurry. It does not show one or more full sides of the exterior of the home. The image reflects fallen vegetation that does not relate to any structural damage to the home. How about this photo? Is this an acceptable damage photo to submit? Why or why not? This is a good photo. It is clear in landscape view, shows one or more sides of the home, and clearly captures the home from roof to foundation. You are observing this multi-unit dwelling. What will you need to do? Determine if you can identify the number of units, the unique designators for each unit, and the location of each unit within the structure. If this is possible, conduct the external observation of the structural damage for each unit. If you are unable to distinguish the units, consult with the property owner or landlord, if present, to help map the location of each unit. If these efforts are not successful, make a note of this location and inform your supervisor for next steps. Congratulations! You have completed the Detailed Damage Assessment Observations course. In this course, you learned how your work contributes to the disaster relief operations of the American Red Cross. You also learned about the in-field experience when conducting an observation. Finally, you learned how to effectively complete an observation in Survey 123. Your commitment to completing damage observations effectively and accurately helps us reach those most in need. Thank you. Next, check in with your supervisor for instructions on how to begin your first assignment. Thank you for completing this training. You may now exit the course.